Now here's number 4. Finally, we got to number 4. We got number 5 to go. Number 4 is measure progress. Keeping score, measuring progress is number 4. And jot this word after it, this little sentence. It's the name of the game. Okay, progress is the name of the game. So you set something up, so you're going to accomplish something. So you started it 1 year ago. How are you doing? The key is to measure progress. Now here's how we teach it to our children. For your notes, if your children haven't heard this, make sure they get it. Take this home. We teach our children, here's the life expectancy. Here's what's expected of us in our life on this spinning planet. Okay? And that is making measurable progress in reasonable time. That's the game of life. Making measurable progress in reasonable time. Now, number 1, you must be reasonable with time. You can't ask someone every 5 minutes, how are you doing now? That's too soon. The guy says, I haven't left the building yet. Give me a break. Now, you can't wait 5 years. That's what? Too late. That's too long to ask for a count, a progress report. So 5 minutes is too soon, and 5 years is too long. So what's reasonable to ask for a count and a measure? Jot this down. Number 1, at the end of the day. That's not unreasonable. Mama said an apple once in a while. No. An apple, what? A day. So at the end of the day, you want to check. Apple. I've modified it a little. No. Applesauce, apple pie. I'm not sure Mama would go for that, but you got what I mean now? At the end of the day, progress. Progress. Now, here's the next one. At the end of the week. Here's what happens at the end of the week, usually. They calculate your value to the marketplace and out comes the check. They calculate your economic value and out comes the check at the end of the week. What if you wanted to multiply your check by 3? All you have to do is create the value, become more valuable. All the stuff we've been talking about, become 3 times as valuable, and the check comes out 3 times as much. It's like a magic machine. What are the numbers at the end of the week? John joins this little sales company. The first project is make 10 calls tomorrow, or 10 calls this week. You know, just getting acquainted with the marketplace. Make 10 calls, and then we'll get together on Friday. So Friday we get together, and we say what to John? How many calls did you make? Supposed to make 10 calls this first week just to get acquainted with the market. How many calls did you make? Now John says, well, and you say, John, well won't fit in the little box here. I need a number. Now John starts with a story. And you say, John, I made this little box so small so a story won't fit. I don't need a story, I need what? A number, because if you give us the number, we're so brilliant around here, we can guess the story. The story is in the numbers. Okay. So the key is measurable progress in reasonable time. We demand it of our children. How many years do you want your child to spend in 4th grade? Approximately. 1. You say, well, if they're nice kids, would you give them 3 or 4? You say, no. This is not a beauty contest here. What's it called? 1 grade, 1 year. Now we must also expect it of ourselves. 1 grade, 1 year. Come on, you gotta grow. Here's a man that's making the same verbal errors today that he made 10 years ago. And his verbal errors cost him too much. What if you meant to say to someone you care about? You meant to say, what's troubling you? And instead you said, what's wrong with you? Oh. See, it's okay to make that mistake 10 years ago, but not 10 years later. If we demand it of our children, we must demand it of ourselves. Society doesn't demand it. You must demand it of yourself. Society doesn't demand that you not have a heart attack. You've got to demand that of yourself. Society doesn't demand that you become wealthy, take care of your family. You must demand it of yourself. This is where the demands really pay off, demanding it of yourself. Okay. Measuring progress in reasonable time, keep track. Now jot this down. Pick some easy numbers and grow. If you set some targets and the numbers seem to be too high, adjust the numbers. If you do something 3 times a day in 1 year, that's 1,000 times. If you make 3 positive calls every day for a year, that's 1,000 calls. You can't make 1,000 positive calls without something unbelievable starting to happen. And it's only 3 a day for a year. If you want to learn another language, 3 words a day for a year, 1,000-word vocabulary. Pick some easy numbers. The key is consistently, do it constantly. Okay. Here's what's next. Nobody knows the real story better than you do, whether you're on track or off track. Doing the job, not doing the job. The greatest measure must be the measure of yourself. Yes, when you work for a company, they measure some of your value and out comes the paycheck. But all of the values you must really measure for yourself. Because sometimes the company can't measure your growing worth as a mother, your developing worth as a father, your growing worth as a citizen in the community. The company has no way to measure that, but you do. So be personally responsible for your own numbers. Learn to measure. Am I growing? Am I slipping? I've worked so hard giving lectures and seminars the last 40 plus years. Here's one of the reasons why. I don't want the day to come when someone says, you should have heard Jim Rohn 10 years ago when he was really terrific. Guess what I want them to say? I heard Jim Rohn 10 years ago, but you should hear him today. He's much better today than he was 10 years ago. Let's all have that kind of satisfaction. That we keep growing, we keep developing. We let our imagination grow. Then we let our faith grow. Then we let our disciplines become refined in activity that can produce all kinds of unique reality. Okay, measuring progress. It's the name of the game. Now here's the last one. Got to keep track of my time here. Number 5. Finally, we got to number 5. Okay, number 1 was personal philosophy. We're affected by what we know. Attitude, we're affected by how we feel. Activity, we're affected by what we do. Remember, when the book is written on you, your success story, in the middle, there's bound to be some chapters on what you did. And when we read those chapters, we will say, no wonder she became rich and famous. Look what she did. Not just what she said, not just what she thought, not just her philosophy, not just her attitude. The real story of why she became rich and famous is what she did. Let that be your story. Now let's talk about number 5. This is really now what it's all about. Jot the word down, lifestyle. What is the essence of life? the essence of life. What are the true values of life? It's really not a car. It's really not a house. It's really not a fortune. It's not $1 million. Here's the key. As best as I've studied, practiced, watched, learned from others, here's what's really best. And get ready, because I think this is worth the price of the seminar. Learning to live a good life. This is really what it's all about. Whether you're a person of modest means or whether you're wealthy. Because both wealth and poor must learn all the lessons. The poor must learn not to be cynical, and the rich must learn not to be arrogant. People powerful must learn the wise use of their power. The wise use of power has to start early. The beginning of a civilized society is the restraint of power. In school, a little 3-year-old hits another 3-year-old over the head because he's a little bigger. If he's not restrained, he'll do it again. And if he's not further restrained, he'll probably enjoy it. And we have the beginning of an uncivilized person. From what? The misuse of power. And the more powerful you are, the more careful you have to be. A powerful father has to be extremely careful that his family doesn't live in his shadow. The elephant must be careful where he steps. You say, well, this is a big, friendly elephant. Yes, but the mouse is dead. He just didn't see him. So the more powerful you are, the more careful you have to be. The restraint of power. We've all heard the phrase, ultimate power, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. We've had examples in our lifetime of those that gave in to absolute power, and they were corrupted absolutely. So all of this is a learning experience to create lifestyle, living a good life. Now let me give you my best list on creating a good life. Here's number 1, productivity. You really won't be that happy if you don't produce. Now productivity is the full range. We might say that life adventure is this: the full development of all of your potential and the wise use of all your resources. That's really the total game in a sentence. The full development of all your potential and the wise use of all of your resources. I asked my mentor when I started my journey, age 25, how far should I go? He said, why not go as far as you possibly can? I said, how much should I earn? He said, as much as you possibly can in the time devoted to work. How much should I give? As much as you possibly can. Here's one way to live: just take care of yourself. The first law of productivity is survival. A man must produce enough for himself to survive. But is that all there is to life? No. Now he decides he needs a companion, so he gets married. Now he must produce enough for himself and for his wife. Somebody says, well, why do that? Why not just take care of yourself? Here's the answer: to live a better life. A life of sharing, loving, caring. Yes, you have to produce more. But hey, that's an easy answer to living the better life. Now the man decides to have children. Now he must produce enough for himself and for his whole family. Somebody says, well, why do all of that? Why not just take care of yourself? And the answer is to live a better life. A little higher in terms of life expression. Now the man decides to be generous. And he decides to produce more than he needs for himself and for his family. And somebody says, well, why get carried away? And the answer is what? Why not? If you have the ability to produce more than you need for yourself and for your family. The answer is why not? Now become a person of benevolence. It's a whole new, extraordinary life, a life of giving and benevolence. What if you and your family, let's say you made $10 million this year, and you and your family only needed $3 million to live? You know, some families are more expensive than others, but let's say $3 million would cover it. Now you've got $7 million to give. Somebody says, why that much? And the answer, of course, is why not? Now he decides to take it one step further and to earn much more than he needs for himself and for his family. Wow. The opportunity to live in the clouds of the summit. And then he takes it one step further to earn far more than he needs for himself and for his family. Why go that far? If you could, why not? R.J. Letourneau, who built the big earth-moving machines in America, here was his goal, to be able someday to give away 90% of his income. And he reached that goal and became famous. Not only for building earth-moving machines, but for his giving, 90%. You say, wow, 90%, it's a lot to give away. Well, you should have seen the 10% that was left, right? It was plenty. I'm going to have you measure, or I'm going to have you memorize something before I finish here that I think you'll like. So set your goal to go as far as you can. The first key to the good life is productivity. The old prophet said this. Jennifer, are you ready? Okay. Jennifer's got a little message. Yeah, before I finish. The old prophet said this. The sleep of a working man is sweet. The sleep of a working woman, a working person, a person who does their work with self-esteem, the sleep is now sweet. Not the sleep of a goof-off man, no. Not the sleep of a joker, no. The sleep of a worker, somebody that puts their hands, their mind, their heart and their soul in what they do. Now the sleep is sweet. If you'll try to practice that, do so well in productivity and getting the job done for the day, that you'll be able to sleep well at night. Okay? So number one is productivity. Here's number two. Your culture is a major part of your lifestyle. In America, we're a blend of cultures from all over the world. Here's what we try to do, though, in America, to make sure each culture stays alive and vigorous and continuing to make their contribution. Whatever your culture, don't miss the ceremonies, the drama, the customs, the costumes, the music, the language. Because in a multicultural society, that's what makes it strong and great and brilliant, able to serve both the country and the future. Keep your traditions, ceremonies, culture alive. That's what represents you. Here's the next one. Spirituality. I don't know what your concept is of spirituality. You've gotten a little glimpse of mine. Humans are an extraordinary creation. No other life form has these unique abilities like we have to design a new destination, go, reach it. But whatever your ideas are on spirituality, let me give you 3 words. If you're ready, say I'm ready. Jot down these 3 words now if you're a believer in whatever spirituality. Number 1, study. Number 2, practice. Number 3, teach. Study, practice, teach. Whatever your philosophical decisions are on spirituality, don't leave it unstudied, Don't leave it unpracticed, and don't leave it untaught, starting with your children. That's what makes the country strong. Individual teaching going on at home that helps to strengthen the bonds, not only at home, but in the community, in the country, in the state. Study, practice, teach.